Is Robbie Page here. I'm excited to be with you guys for this podcast that I'm calling Now What? This is going to be a podcast specifically for those of you that are in your 50s. Now, are you that person that thinks, now what? Like, what am I supposed to do now? Who am I? What even makes me happy? What am I supposed to be focusing on? Where am I supposed to go? If that is you, hang in there with me today because I want to talk to you about a few things that you can do, walk into your 50s and beyond in your Now What season. My name is Robbie Page. I'm a life coach. I love helping, empowering women in any category that I possibly can. And I'm super fired up about my new season of being an empty nester. I'm 53 years old. And so I have found myself in some places in this season that I'm pretty sure the rest of you guys are finding yourself as well. So if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to be sure to follow all of the podcasts that I do for those of us that are Gen Xers, those of us that are empty nesters, those of us that are in a different season of life. I'm very excited about this new season of podcasts that I'm bringing you guys. So let's get started on today. Today is truly a now what time. I want to talk to you about now what. Now, I'm 53. Some of you guys may have entered an empty nester season, maybe a little bit earlier than I did. Our youngest is a junior at OU, so we're not brand new empty nesters, but it's still empty nesting, right? And so I have found myself trying to figure myself out. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Is there anybody else that is trying to figure yourself out? You know, I'll share this with you guys. They say, right? They say that in your 20s, we're going to go save the world, and we're going to create our own selves. We're going to brand ourselves, all the things. Then in our 30s, we begin to try to figure out if what we decided in our 20s is actually going to become who we are in our 30s. And then in our 40s, we start to think, no, I don't think that's working for me. Like, I don't like that. I don't like who that is. And it's in our 50s, you guys, that we kind of start to peel back the layers and say, this is just me. And so that's what I want to talk about today is the now what. We're in our 50s. Maybe you're empty nesting, but you know what? You're probably struggling with who you are and what you're supposed to do because we do have the decades that went before us that could be confusing to us, and that's okay. All right. So life in my 50s. We're going to be diving deep into what that looks like today because I want your 50s to be vibrant. I want your 50s to be fun. I want your 50s to be the most incredible time of your life. 50s and beyond. I'm going to keep saying that. Okay. But let's be honest. As we turn 50, you guys, it can stir up some questions within us because you're probably thinking, who am I even becoming? What now? Like, who am I? So we're going to talk about these questions today, and I'm going to hope to help. I'm going to hope that I can bring you some clarity. So let's talk about tip number one. Tip number one. I want you to redefine what brings you joy. True joy. We can be happy with the moment. We can be happy at the grocery store. We can be happy when we go to dinner. I'm talking about the kind of joy that gets you up in the morning, the kind of joy that keeps you going throughout your day. I want you to redefine what brings you joy. You guys, there's a good chance it's not what brought you joy in your 20s, your 30s, and even your 40s. So I want you to pause, write this question down. What truly makes me happy? I want you to think about that. What truly makes me happy? I also want you to ask yourself, what truly makes my heart sing? Where you just can't stand it. Like you just can't stand it. Maybe it's something that you used to love, but it's been years since you've even done that. Maybe it's something completely new for you that you have found as you have aged, that you really are taking a liking to this, because joy is not just a fleeting feeling, you guys. It's a way that you get to connect with your soul. So ask yourself this question. What have I always wanted to do, but maybe I've never given myself permission to do that? Ask yourself that. Maybe you could also ask yourself, what's one small thing that I can do today, right now, that's going to make me smile? So I'll tell you guys that as I've turned 50, I started to study a lot of behaviors, and I started to study a lot of what people love and what people do, and all the things like that. But I'll tell you that in our 50s, people over 50s will find more lasting joy experiencing than we do in things. I believe that we spend most of our time, our 20s, 30s, and 40s, trying to collect, trying to, get our kids a car, trying to get a bigger house, trying to get a bigger car, trying to buy, things for our kids. Maybe they were in sports, band, cheer, whatever they were in, and trying to go out and eat, and we were trying to afford things. But when we get in our 50s, you guys, studies have shown that we in our 50s and beyond find more joy in experiences. So I really want you to think about, how can you prioritize experiences that feed your soul? Maybe it's taking a dance class. Maybe it's going hiking. Maybe it's going outside for a walk. Maybe it's brewing a different kind of coffee. Maybe it's going to the coffee bar and sitting there instead of in your own kitchen. Whatever that may be for you. Maybe it's going on a trip. Maybe it's going shopping. Maybe it's walking around the grocery store. I always joke, if I go missing, please let Brian know I am at the grocery store. So what experiences can you add to your life? All right. Tip number 2. I want you to connect with your inner circle on a much deeper level. Now, let me kind of talk about that really quickly, because let me go back through the decades again. In our 20s, we still kind of had our friends from college, right? In our 30s, we grew new friends because of our children and their experiences and what they were doing in band and theater and cheer and sports. And our friendships would change from soccer to baseball, and then baseball to football. And if those parents didn't mesh throughout them, our friendships actually changed from churches to all the things. Then in our 40s, we began to pull ourselves out of friendships and begin to settle. And we began to wonder, who is my real friend? Who can I count on always? And then now we're in our 50s, you guys, and I can tell you that I want to nurture the relationships that truly matter, the ones that truly matter. And I don't mean I see them all the time. I mean that they matter to me. I just spent my 53rd birthday in Chicago with a group of wonderful women that I didn't know in my 20s, my 30s, or even my 40s. Some I did, a couple of them I did, but the majority of the 10 of us, I did not. And I don't have time in the books with them, but they matter to me. They nurture me. And I feel like we've spent our whole life nurturing others, you guys, and it's in our 50s that we have to ask ourselves, is this nurturing me? Now, I want you to ask yourself these questions. Who are the people in my life that make me feel alive? Can you think of a couple? Can you think of 5? Maybe you can only think of one. Maybe you can't think of any, and that's okay. We'll get to that during these podcast series. I want you to also ask yourself, who are those people that really see the real me? And I'm not talking about family. I'm talking about friendships. And then I want you to ask yourself, who do I need to let go of to make space for more meaningful connections? You guys, I remember I had a best friend for 27 years. And I remember as I was approaching my 50s, thinking to myself, I'm not real sure that this is meaningful to me anymore. I started feeling the pressure of the time that we had together, the memories that we had had together. Our lives completely began to shift away from each other as far as personal growth, beliefs, decisions for the future. It began to change. And what I found was, the more I began to focus on meaningful friendships, the more that began to go away. And at first I panicked a little bit, but then I began to see that God is really shifting people out to make room for the meaningful things that I wanted. Because you guys, we know that quality relationships, not quantity, will add years to our life. Isn't that what we want? And so I want to share with you a Harvard study found that close relationships, I didn't say time, I said close relationships are the strongest predictor of happiness as we age. Isn't that cool to know? Okay, so let's think about this. I don't want you to think that you have to have 100 friends. I want you to think you just need a few close ones that see you, they value you, and they make you feel beautiful. All right, let's go to number 3. All right, my favorite tread instructor on my Peloton tread, Rebecca Kennedy, says, stop shooting yourself. Oh, wait, to hear that again. Stop shooting yourself. Isn't that a great way to say? Tip 3 is let go of your shoulds and start to embrace your truth. Let go of I should have. Stop shooting yourself, says Rebecca Kennedy. I love that because it's in your 50s that you've earned the right to release all the shoulds that you have thrown at yourself and society has thrown at yourself. It's time. This is time to live by your truths, to make you embrace what you feel is right for you, what you feel is the perfect time for you. Maybe it's a new career. Maybe it's going on more trips. Maybe it's just simplifying yourself. Maybe it's taking a nap. Maybe it's adopting Miracle Mornings. Maybe it's joining a mastermind. Maybe it's joining my mastermind. Maybe it's finding some new friends who can get behind the vision that you have. Like, we don't have any more time to be shooting ourselves, you guys. Let's ask ourselves these questions. What have I been doing just because I feel like I should? Ooh, that'll take you today, right? I want you to also ask yourself, what would my life look like if I focused only on what feels true to me? Maybe that place doesn't feel true to you anymore. Heaven forbid that church doesn't feel true to you anymore. That women's group doesn't feel true to you anymore. That city doesn't feel true to you anymore. What used to make you happy over there isn't doing it today. Let me tell you, this is a powerful way to reconnect with yourself on a deeper level. And you're not alone, you guys. Women all over the world in their 50s are choosing to live their truth. I know Jane Fonda, we all know who that is. She released her book on aging called Primetime in her 70s. In her 70s, y'all, she once said, the challenge is not to be perfect. It's to be whole. And so let's go ahead, you guys. Let's go ahead and let go of perfection. We're too old to be trying to be perfect. That's not going to happen at this age in our life. But let's start to embrace the wholeness of who we are. Are you guys in it for that? Are you guys okay walking out these 3 tips, asking yourself these questions? Because remember, this season, this chapter of our life is all about it. Discovering what fills our soul, what connecting with those who bring us joy will do to us, and what living our own truth will do. Because your 50s, 60s, 70s can be the most beautiful time of your life if you let it be. So take some time today and reflect on those questions. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what exactly you are getting from that. I really, truly hope that you enjoyed today. Please subscribe to my podcast. Please leave a review. Please share this with someone who needs a little bit of love and a little bit of inspiration. But until next time, I want you to keep shining. I want you to keep loving your 50s. I want you to stay true to who you are. And most importantly, I want you to keep listening to your soul. All right. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I'll see you on the next episode.